Hey guys, welcome to the One Up Weekly Live. This is the podcast with Retro Ralph and Justin from Console Kits, and we're here to talk about FOMO. It's an interesting subject, this idea of fear
I don't know what
of missing
FOMO
out.
means. I'm not that cool. Oh, you just said it. I didn't know what it meant.
Yeah, so it's
what
this
does it
whole
mean?
idea. It's the whole idea. What we're using it in the context of is purchasing items because you have a fear of missing out. And we kind of ran through a couple of the items that we have purchased this year that we kind of regret buying, and we wanted to just talk about that because that's a thing. We don't. A lot of the YouTubers that I follow don't seem to talk about that, so we thought we would, talk about this. The idea that you would go and purchase. Sometimes we purchase things out of curiosity, and so we buy it, and then once we see how it works, kind of doesn't really spark joy anymore. So, what do you think, Ralph? Like, are there a list of items that you've purchased this year that just don't bring you joy anymore, and you question, why did I even buy it?
Yeah, some of them I bought and received, and then one of them in particular on my list I haven't even got yet, and I've ordered it, canceled it, and ordered it again. so there you go. And I will disclose that during the episode.
Yeah, I got a list of items. I really like hardware and technology. I've had a lot of jobs in the past where I actually dealt with hardware, and it was my job to solder and things like that. But more recently, I've gone more into software development. So it's like I need something else in my life to purchase items and dissect and look at. And there's a lot of items in my list that it was just in the curiosity. I was like, what did they do this time? I wanted to know what chipset and, if they were ripping people off and whatnot. So I think we'll talk about that. Yeah. Just a quick reminder, if you're not subscribed to the channel, hit subscribe below, hit a like. And we're here live, and we would love to interact with you. We're going to talk about our items, and we'd love to hear from you. And we'll be reading the chat probably in about 20 minutes about your FOMO items, your curiosity items. So maybe hold back just a little bit before you talk about your products, because we'd love to discuss that together.
Yeah, we want to spend a good amount of time on the back half of the show, like actually you guys telling us yours, because it'll be interesting. I bet some of ours will probably be the same as yours, and then I think some are just we may not have even known the product existed, or
that's right,
whatever. So I don't know who's going to go first.
Yeah, well, also, if you're watching this on the replay, don't be afraid of those comments below. Let it out, man. Let it out. Tell us those products that you bought this year, and you're like, why did I do that? And you know it's going to be, Ralph. We're going to get a couple. Well, I bought it because Ralph told me to. I have a couple of those.
Look, I don't have that. Well, what are we talking about?
All right, why don't you start, Ralph? What in recent history is a purchase that you bought? There's another category I thought of. It's you bought it and it was a gateway product. You bought it, and then you ended up buying something else.
Yeah. So I'll do the one that's probably the less that will produce less controversy. But my first one I bought that I actually regret. It's just one of those things where I bought it. I guess I shouldn't say regret it, but I bought it because I really felt like I needed this thing. And I don't know if you guys remember this, but they came out with a Commodore 64 Mini, and I bought that. It was just a little one. It looked like the keyboard, but the keys didn't work, right? And it loaded, you could load games on it, and it had basics, so you could program stuff if you were going to actually do that. Mm-hmm. But they came out with a full-size one. And I don't know why. I have my original full size, although it did crack, the case cracked. So I really just bought it, not because I thought I'd sit there and use it, because I guess I thought I'd sit there and look at it. And I'm like, this really was a waste of money. Like, I love the Commodore 64. It was my first computer, but I still have my original one. So why did I buy it? You know what I mean? Because it's not like I'm playing my original one. I'm not digging it out of storage being like, oh my gosh, I want to program some basic games right now.
Right.
I don't know. I love it though, but I think it was a waste of money.
Now, a couple years ago, I went through a big list. Like, I bought 100 of Nintendo games. I wanted to get a Game Boy in original in box, not new in box, but, all the parts in box. And for a while there, I felt that, this doesn't spark joy anymore. And then my lovely wife says to me, downstairs in the basement in a theater room, we got all these shelves. Why don't you just pack it with all those collectibles that you have? And I'm like, collectibles? Oh, it's like a collection. And then now I kind of have them up, and all those little items. So you might try that, Ralph. Like the the Commodore 64. That's an item with that keyboard. Like maybe if you just found a spot on a shelf to put it at,
But
then
if you haven't noticed, I've got a little bit of space issues around here.
yeah,
So,
space issue.
yeah, I got space issues. So, hey, Stringer Film says the only FOMO is an episode of the One Up Weekly. So, thank you, buddy. I think. And then Hobby Hen said I bought a Gateway computer. I gotta think he's joking, but maybe he did. Maybe he bought an old Gateway computer, I guess, or maybe does Gateway doesn't make computers anymore. They're the ones that had the cow printed boxes back in the day, right?
I
Like
remember
they don't make computers still, right?
I remember when that reminds me, like in 2000 or something. I remember taking my in-laws to a Gateway store to buy a computer. It was like before an Apple store or anything like that, but it was all Gateway, and it was actually really cool. You go in, you would love this, Ralph. You go in, and it had the history of computers. It was kind of like
cool.
It was like it showed like in the 80s. It actually showed an Apple II as being a part of like it was cool. And then we bought him a computer that was out of date in like a year. So my FOMO item, this Game Gear Micro. Now I'm gonna mention this as FOMO because I haven't even opened this. I bought 2 of these and I played with the first one and I never even opened the second one. It's bad. It's so novelty. Play it once. There's no way I'm gonna play this more than once.
No, it's true, man. It actually hurts your eyes. It actually does. And then when you put you didn't get the magnifying thing, did you?
No, I didn't.
Dude, the magnify. I know what you did. Your video was really funny. What you did with the
it's playing it through a microscope.
But
that was the only joyful thing about it was making fun of it.
Yeah, like the old school magnifying thing that they sold for the original Game Gear wasn't bad, but it was weird. It really hurt my eyes, and it could be just because we're older now, so like anything like that would hurt our eyes. But yeah, dude, it was one of those things. It was very, very like cool for maybe an hour, and then I'm like, I'm never gonna use this again.
And then so I thought about it, like I might sell it, might throw it on eBay or something like that, and just give someone a good price on it. But I might put it on the shelf. I might put it on the shelf and see what it looks like. Gonna have to take this sticker off because I hate that they put this stupid
sticker. They do look cool though.
So maybe
they look really cool.
Yeah.
Like it's almost like, what would be cool if that thing came with a stand. If it like came with a little stand to set it on, because it's kind of not practical to play. I mean, let's face it.
Yeah.
It's really not practical, although it does work. It's not practical to play for a long period of time.
Later, I'm going to talk about another item in my FOMO list, and I got to stand for it, and it adds a little more value. But once you go with your next one, round.
Well, Brad O'Connell had a funny thing. He said, "Question from the wife: Why are you buying this junk?" Yeah. I've gotten that before, Brad. Believe me, I've gotten like, what is this? Oh, and then Jeff Rainwater, who's always got the zinger right at the end, he said, "You mean ex-wife?" That's awesome. Oh, that's awesome. All right, so my next one, this one might have. I feel like I did them in order of controversy. I feel like this one I'm going to get beat up for. I feel like I'm going to get beat up for this. So I'm going to have a little disclaimer, although I shouldn't. I should just tell you. I did not grow up with a TurboGrafx 16. I have no nostalgia for the TurboGrafx 16. The only place I ever played it was in like an electronics boutique, and I played Bonk because that's what they were showcasing was Bonk.
Mm-hmm.
So that was it. Wait, no, Bonk's 3DO, not Bonk. Or was Bonk TurboGrafx 16? No, I'm thinking of Gex. Sorry. Yes, Bonk. So there you go. See what I mean? I didn't even know what character it was. So
Bonk.
I just didn't have nostalgia for it. And when I got it, I was like, this is so cool. It's a TurboGrafx 16. And then I'm like, yep. And it's been in the back closet ever since. Like I played it for that one day and I was all hyped up. And I don't know, like I couldn't get into the games for some reason. Cause I think a lot of why we play certain consoles is because we grew up with them. So there's like a deep connection to them, the characters and all of that. So like I didn't have that with TurboGrafx, but I thought, Justin, that I could like create that because I'm like, I'm going to get excited because it's new. And I don't know, it just didn't do it for me.
Yeah, I think nostalgia is somewhat required with some of these items because for sure there's a list of items that I've purchased years ago that do have a connection to like a history or nostalgia, a strong one. And it's still something that I love, sparks joy, everything's good with. There is a number of purchases that I've made in the recent years where I have a similar thing. I'm like, I don't know this unit.
Yeah, but you want to experience
I want to
it, right?
buy it, and there's
Yeah.
a whole generation of games I've never played, and maybe I'll give it a chance. And I'll tell you right now, I have a few of those, and I pop them, and they're sitting on the shelf like waiting for a rainy day to hook up. And in fact, I have the last week off of the year, and that's like pinned to like, oh, I'm gonna play with that, because I never got a chance to as a kid. We'll see. I don't know.
Here's the thing, though, that your whole thing that you're talking about, that experimenting with a console you didn't have, sometimes it can actually turn out to be really good. Because I didn't grow up with the Sega Saturn, and and the Sega Saturn's quirky. The graphics are quirky on it and everything. It's just kind of weird. It's that transitional phase with game artwork and graphics in general, the polygonal stuff.
Yeah.
But I really enjoyed some of the games. Like I really did. So I'm like, okay, that one it worked out, and then I started collecting it. So it doesn't always go the wrong way, but the TurboGrafx for me just it didn't hit on that. It just didn't hit it for me.
That's right. So the next one in my list is, this one's tough because, man, when I saw it, I was like, gotta get it. I mean, I was hunting for it. I have a buddy at work who was also hunting for it. Like, we're hitting refresh like every day, and we're like chatting in Slack. We're like, oh man, did you see that this place has it, but you can't get it yet? The Nintendo Game & Watch. Now, I picked this up.
What do you mean? I thought you really liked it. You called me and you were telling me how awesome it was. Wait, I'm shocked by this one, actually, because I thought you were wicked digging it.
Okay, here's my mistake. I bought 2 of them. I did this. Okay, I wanted it so bad that I bought the UK version, where the color is with a U. So I have that version. And I got that from Amazon UK. And then all of a sudden, I think Best Buy had it. Like, the floodgates open at Best Buy, and I got it like same day. So then I went to try to cancel the UK version, and it was like the day that I canceled it was the day you couldn't cancel it, and they shipped it out. So then I have 2, and I have one that I haven't opened. So I play with it, and I play Mario a lot, because when I mod consoles, I do a lot of NES modding. I play Mario, the first level, so I know when there's no lag, and it's good.
It plays it really good.
It plays it pretty good for what it is. It's not, of course, it's not as good as like, original hardware with the CRT, RGB modded. That's about the best you can get. But
I want to make you feel better, because there's literally like 2 people in the chat that just said they bought 2 as well. So my family bought 2, and then Endanger Dog bought 2. So there you go.
So I played it a lot for a while, and this is the one that I did add value to it. I end up buying a stand for it. So it's actually at my work desk. It's like I see it. Like, anytime I look down from my monitors while I'm working, there it is. And it's kind of cool. Like, I don't ever turn it on and go, oh, what time is it, But I never pick it up to play because I got a Switch right there. I got a Switch Lite right there. And the Switch Lite plays Mario better than the Game & Watch. And I'm playing Mario 35 on that like all the time. Mario 35 is awesome. I don't regret that at all.
But don't you think this too, if you shipped it with a stand, would look really cool in like a display case? It would, right?
Yeah. So my family says, where did you get it? I got it from Laser Bear, and the reason why, if you go to laserbear.com.
Wait, what's Laser Bear?
It's this dude. I met him. He's a really nice guy. He does 3D models. Laserbear.com. And he sells 3D prints of a lot of devices. He sells 3D prints. I'm gonna have to look it up because now Laser Bear.
So a lot of people are saying they think the Game Watch is cool, but which I think it is too. I didn't put that on my FOMO list, but I also haven't played it much since I got it. I played it a lot that day because you called me going, oh my gosh, it plays Mario really good. Like, you got to check it out. The emulation's really good. So I did, and I played it for a while.
It's good for what it is. It's surprisingly better than I thought it was going to be. So I was pretty excited about it. So laserbear.net. So this guy, he's actually going full time, dude. Like, so this guy, I've been following him for a while. He's out of Nebraska, and he kind of did the shop on the side, and now he's been selling so many 3D parts for retro gaming. That now he's going full time, so that's really cool. And he does something that's really cool. Everything that
I'm gonna pull it up really quick.
He sells like GC loader, SD mounts, Dreamcast fans. These are all parts for. And every single time you buy an item, he puts gummy bears in there because his branding is Laser Bear. So
That's
literally,
cool. I think I bought something from him before. I think I did because I was like, I totally did because Kim's like, she goes, "Hey, there's gummy bears in the box," and I'm like,
Yeah.
what? Like, I just thought it was weird. And here's how stupid I am. Sometimes I totally never put that together that it was Laser Bear and gummy bears. Never.
Yeah, if you go in, I
Wow.
bought the height def NES from him,
are
like
really
10
dumb.
of those. And so I got 10 gummy bear bags in there. And so I was doing the mod, whatever. I probably got to like the 5th one, and I'm just using the box as the container for it. And all of a sudden I get to the closer to the bottom, and there's just, I totally forgot that he sends bears. And then he sent one for every item that I purchased, like, because I bought a bulk package from him. And
Dude, this would have came in
and
really handy.
I was just eating all those gummy bears all night. It was so great.
This would have came in really handy. I modded my. This is the only time I've done like what I would consider a more complex thing to a console. Like with soldering and stuff. Is I put a replacement LCD in it, but this is a replacement mount for it. That would have been good to have because I think I might have broke mine or it like cracked a little bit. So that would be kind of cool. But there's a lot of cool stuff here, especially the GC.
See, for
loader.
me, this is not FOMO. Like, this is, you've done research, you're gonna do a mod, and you buy it, and even if you're doing some of these mods, the weekend project of doing the mod, that stays with you forever. That probably sounds corny, but like, I love projects like that. And so, buying from him, and he just made an announcement on Twitter. He's partnered up with Voltar, and we've talked about him before. Voltar makes some really good PCB hardware mods for like Nintendo, Super Nintendo, Sega Genesis, and he's open sourced a lot of those. And by the way, Laser Bear also open sources, I think almost everything on his website's open source. Like, you go in there and you're like, oh, you want to print this yourself? You can, but I also sell them if you want to just buy them from me. That is amazing. That's really cool. And so Voltar open sourced a whole bunch of his mods, and he's like given Laser Bear the license to like resell them, bundle them together. So I'm really excited about that. There's a couple mods that I plan on buying directly from Laser Bear that it's a kit. Comes you get everything you need.
Yeah. King Kong says, I got those gummy bears also, and my wife told me to throw them out, and I said I did, but then I ate them in the garage. That's awesome because that's something I would do, dude.
Totally.
King Kong, I have serious respect for that because I would eat them too, and probably away from the wife because she'd be like, "Hey, I told you not to." I'd be like, "What?" But this is really cool too. So this is a piece of the GDEMU mount, the 3D mount. That's something that I don't actually use with mine, which I actually bought one. I didn't buy one from him. And I never actually ended up installing it for whatever reason, but it is super convenient because if it's not like it's a big deal because you can reach in there easily and pull out your normal SD card. But that is really cool though to be able to do that from the top is pretty neat. But yeah, that's cool. I didn't know about that website. I mean, I've ordered stuff, but maybe he must do stuff through eBay too, and he must put things up there because I didn't ever order directly. That's for sure.
Yeah. So next on your list, Ralph. I know I see one in our list. You got to jump to it, man.
Oh, should I go right there too? Oh, all right. So I'll go to the next one. So again, I was levels of controversy. This one isn't as controversial. It should have been the first one. So the Well Played Toys pinball machine. I ordered it, and then I was like, this is dumb because I don't believe in what they're doing. Mainly because I shouldn't say that. It's not that I don't believe in what they're doing. I don't like the titles. So the titles dictate to me a lot of it's like the games that come with it. The artwork isn't really doing it for me. It's like this purplish kind of stuff going on. It has Wi-Fi, you can download games, all that stuff. But anyways, you guys all know what the Well Played Toys pinball
See, I don't know
is.
if this works. You have FOMO for the Well Played Toys pinball, but you don't even have it. How is that even possible?
It's like reverse FOMO. Well, it's like reverse FOMO because
preemptive.
The only reason why I'm buying it is because I want to see whether it's good. I don't think it's going to be. Like,
it's in my heart of curiosity.
Hearts. Yeah, in my heart of hearts, I don't think it'll be good. Now, really quick, I think someone could buy it who's never experienced virtual pinball before and probably have fun with it. But I think if I were to look at what's out there and go, all right, is this an overall good experience? I'm going to say it's probably not going to be one. But here's the thing. Sometimes you don't know what you don't know. So sometimes a product to someone is great. Like, I thought the Toy Shock sucked, but there's people that love it. So I can't tell you what you can't do what you like. If you like it, you like it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I just
Mhm.
didn't. And I think well played. I think the speed of it will be fine and all that. I just don't think it's going to do it for me. So I ordered it, I canceled it, and then I ordered it again. So it's currently still on order. And it's slated
Jeez.
for release 12/15. So it's 2 days away if that happens. So it's
Yeah.
reverse FOMO.
So I wonder if we're gonna find out they're like, oh yeah, that was also on the container ship as well. Because
I don't know.
I mean,
They've
have you got
held to that
any email?
date. They delayed once. So they had delayed once. I think it was supposed to come out. I can't remember the original date, but they pushed it. I think it was like 12/1 or something, and they pushed it to
Right.
15. But they've held steady. So, anyways, How to Bachelor
so
says once you go FOMO, there's no turning back.
Okay.
Thanks for the super chat, buddy.
So the next one on my item is the Arcade 1-Up HDMI console. Now, I got to talk about this a little bit. This follows, if the high category is FOMO, then yes, this qualifies as FOMO, but this is 100% technology curiosity. And so the reason why I have regret for it is because I bought two of them, so I have both of them because I was curious about it. And I did learn something. What I was expecting was the inside of it was going to be what's called an NES on a chip, which is an ASIC chip. Basically, it's 10 to 15-year-old technology that you'll find in a lot of the retro clones.
Remember, we did the episode on it. Remember, you made me open and unscrew like 1,000 of my consoles?
Yeah, NES on a chip, NES on a chip. So the whole idea is the highest quality those guys output is composite video, right? But you'll see items that have HDMI out, but they're just upscaling it. There's another chip on there that takes the composite and upscales it, and it's horrible. And I was certain that that's what Arcade 1-Up was going to do. That isn't what they did. They end up using the same newer technology that they're using on their partycades. It's like a dual-core Linux-based, system on a chip. And so the emulation is as good as you can get on that hardware. It's like a dual-core. And they're probably using Capcom's emulator, which isn't as good as an original Nintendo, but it's close. The lag is within a frame or two, I would say. I did a video on it showing side by side, and you can see in the video the original Nintendo that I'm using in comparison, which uses an HDMI zero lag solution, is slightly faster, just slightly. But what's nice is I didn't notice any variable lag. It seemed like it was consistent. You could totally I was jumping through all of those, falling platforms, and it's not like I would fall super often. It was consistent, and I didn't have to really even think about it. So the lag was super minimal. But in the end, I don't use it because, I already have a Nintendo, and I own all those games and an EverDrive. Like, I have many different ways to play that. So there you go.
Yeah. Well, I think too, the early reports of some of the early reports of you being able to add additional games, I wanted to see. So I'm there with you on this one. I wanted to see how that would work because they hadn't done that ever in the past. It's not even really an advertised feature, but it does it. So I get that one. That was a technology one for me too, and technically should be on my FOMO list, but it was definitely.
Wait.
Do you think everyone understands the tech?
It should be on your FOMO list.
That though.
Let's expand on that in a second. But how many did you buy?
Because I couldn't find them, so I was ordering them all over the place, and then finally they all came, and I was like, "Oh crap! Yeah, I have too many of them." But no, I think the technology buy is interesting because that's not necessarily a fear of missing out purchase. That's when and Justin, I'm going to throw this out there. We've never talked about this before, but I'm pretty sure you're the same as me. Before I even ever did YouTube, and actually part of the reason why I decided to do YouTube is because I would always buy stuff to try it out. Yeah. It wasn't because I wanted it sometimes. It was because I was so curious to see, like, is it going to be good? And sometimes I'd even go into it being like, I'm pretty sure it's not going to be, but I need confirmation. Right. And I don't care if 1 million people say it's good or 1 million people say it's crap. I need to know. So that's the technology thing is more, how does it work? Is it good? So that's just, it's nice to have a YouTube channel because then you can share those experiences. But that's how I would explain a technology buy. You don't know either way it's good or bad sometimes. And sometimes you do know it's going to suck, but you'll buy it anyways just to try it out.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm with you on that 100%. And that's probably why we get along and we're close friends, is because we see eye to eye when it comes to that. when we first started chatting, we were talking all about, I own this, I own that, and why'd you buy it? And it's because of the technology behind it. And it is one of the reasons why we made our channel, is because we want to, it is out of our curiosity that we buy a lot of these items, and then you can kind of mix it in. And it's tough. We've talked about this. We'll do reviews, on different products, and we're doing the review going, I'm curious about this product, but we're also trying to explain our curiosity to people. And then people are watching that as almost like, okay, this is a review that's going to help me decide whether I'm going to buy it. And that's tough, because it's like, well, you got to make your own choice, right? So we're just trying to showcase the things that we find interesting in it, and then you'll kind of do your final thoughts. And a lot of times you'll be like, if we had a preconceived notion that it was going to be really bad, then the final thoughts are like, whoa, it's way better than I thought it was going to be.
Yeah.
And that might turn into a FOMO moment for someone else. We're like, oh, I must buy it because
someone might be like, well, he said it was a lot better than he thought, and then all of a sudden it's weird. I've been pretty careful lately. I won't call certain videos reviews. I'll just say it's a first look. Like, I don't even have an opinion yet. Like, the first look things are supposed to be, you and I are experiencing this together, so I don't have an opinion on it either way. So I think it's interesting. I try to avoid the word review, because unless I'm going to do like a full thorough thing, that it's not really a review. It's just, here's some like feelings and opinions on it based on my experience so far.
Yeah.
So
the sucky thing is, though, a lot of the titles in our shows will end up being based on search engine optimization research. And it's like, they want the word review in the title. And so we're like, well, I guess we cover the product. So there's a lot of people in the chat that are asking whether or not we're going to do a show with John D. Literally just asked him right now, next week. He says he's in. So our plan is for next week, we're going to be live with John D. And he just came back and said Mel is too. We're going to have a party, I guess, huh?
Yeah, I haven't talked to you this week. There's a couple other people that may join too, so it's actually good. We could have some really cool. There's some interesting people that could join that we've never had on the show, and I wouldn't even know how to get them on the show, so that could be kind of cool. And there's no one that's like committed yet, so let's not. I don't want to like name names, but
okay, cool.
So Michael said $2 super chat, said John D next week. We already answered that. Sad about race cab. I'm not sure what he means about that, but great work. Thanks, Michael. Appreciate that. And then we had one more from Hobby Hands. $10 super chat. Thanks, buddy. He says, have a family thing. Wish I could stay. I have the original C64, but play the C64 Maxi for convenience. I totally get that. That was kind of my thought too. Same as my game consoles. I like the multi-game for convenience. Yeah, totally. So it has a carousel thing, just like the C64 has a carousel thing, just like all the other consoles. So it's easy to access and stuff. And then we got a new member too. Alberta Dave, and I have an itch on my arm that I keep itching, and I'm sorry, I probably look like there's something wrong with me, but I'm not. Just really itchy right here for some reason.
Yeah.
And then Zohar had one too. If John D, I'm gonna do this very serious. If John D releases 2 more cabs next year, like he said he would, the FOMO feeling will only get worse. Just saying, it's going to get worse.
Yeah.
And don't get me started on space. This will get worse.
Yeah.
Thanks for the super chat.
I think we got one more FOMO item you got to go with, Ralph. And I want to talk about the FOMO. We got to elaborate on that more. But yeah, why don't you go with your item?
Okay, this is my last one. So my last one is 100%. This was one that I was not going to purchase. I wasn't even going to purchase it for the tech reasons, because money's just like, it's getting around Christmas time, but it's the Outrun cab. So if they had put out an Outrun sit down and stand up at the same time, then I would have been interested in the stand up. I wouldn't have been interested in the.
You would have had FOMO for the stand up, is what you're saying.
Well, I don't know. I put it this way: when they showed the pictures side by side, I was like, oh, I really want the stand up one. Like, I want to check that out. Yeah. So the sit down one, I already could tell from all the pictures that it was going to be really small, and it just wasn't going to be what I thought it was going to be. So it probably should have been one I didn't buy. Like it didn't fit my needs, because I just
right.
Plus it looked really weird. The only place I really had for it was downstairs. So
right. It
looks really silly sitting next to a row of real arcade cabinets. Like it looks funny.
Yeah.
It didn't. But I'm not that's not my. Well, I do want to say though. I do want to say this, because I feel like when I say I have FOMO for it, I didn't want it. There's so many aspects of it that I think could be improved on, like so many. But if you ask me one question, if you said, was it fun? It was actually super fun. And there are many conversations where Justin called me and he's like, you could hear Outrun playing in the back. He's like, you playing it? I'm like, it's really fun. So, despite its shortcomings, it was fun, but it was one I shouldn't have bought.
Yeah. So out of all of the cabinets that Ralph has bought, Outrun is the number one game that I hear the most ever since he bought it. Anytime he calls, lunch break, whatever.
Well, it is in my office too.
He's playing Outrun, And so I think maybe you like it. You showed it off. It's not perfect like you said. I think the only reason why it doesn't spark joy anymore is because you have limited space. And there's one other reason. This is a teaser for your video. Is it coming this week? Yeah. Maybe is because
I put it out.
Did you a full on one? I think you did a tease.
No,
right?
I did a first look thing. Yeah.
Yeah. So obviously he bought like a big boy racer, and so I think I'm glad that you did buy it, the Outrun, because it ended up turning into like a gateway into what you actually wanted was a full size multi-cade racer, a dedicated racer,
which I technically have right there too. So really, that didn't have.
So now I'm wondering if the one that you bought is going to that's going to be your next FOMO cabinet. You're like, well, why did I even buy that one, right?
Yeah, well, I mean the one that. So I already have that, and that does everything that the one I just bought had. Actually, that does more, believe it or not. That one that I did myself does more than the one that was $2,000. So there you go.
And that's a 20-inch 5x4 screen, right?
That is a 20-inch 5x4.
It's a nice monitor, too.
One. It's a really nice monitor. Awesome viewing angles. It's meant for arcade cabinets. It's actually an arcade company that sells it.
Mm-hmm.
It looks awesome. So... But there is something weird about how the one downstairs can be not as good, but because it's in this bigger cabinet, it like somehow seems better. I don't know, like, because it's weird. Some games just you want to. I don't know. I think maybe with arcade controls, you're not moving it around as much, but a wheel, you're putting some weight on the wheel, So I think having a full size cabinet does kind of help there because you can see the cabinet does move a little bit on the Outrun. Right. But anyways. But I do want to say one thing, quick, and then I swear I'll be done. I got this a ton, and I want to say everyone's like, "Wow, 2,000! I can't believe that." But here's the thing, my and I was gonna say this in my video, but I didn't want to have a bunch of people scream at me in my comments. If you own 4 arcade 1-ups or more, then you just bought cabinets that have like 4 games each or 3 games each. So for someone to go 2,000 is crazy. You've spent well over 2,000, and you're playing like
spent even more. Come on,
and you're playing like 10 games. Well, let's see.
You're like, so don't come telling to me that I spent $2,000 when
maybe
you
16 games
has spent more.
But that was my argument. It was like the cost. The cost is a little bit like if you have a whole room full of 1-ups. Or you were going to buy multiple racing 1-ups, then maybe this could be for you. You know what I mean? Look, maybe it takes you a little more to save for it. But you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. If anyone in the audience, please don't listen to the words we're saying and get FOMO over anything we're saying. Look, if you're happy, with the 1-up, if you're happy with full size arcade, like all of it could work together. Like there's no right answer. There really isn't a right answer to this.
And honestly, dude, I'm a perfect example. I got an upright pinball. I got the MVSX. I have full size cabinets downstairs. I have a mix of everything. I have multi-cades. So sometimes
I love the topic, really. I mean, what I would like to talk about for a little bit, and then we can get to the audience and see what their FOMO items are. This whole arcade 1-up, home arcade experience lasts almost 3 years now. There's I don't believe that there's any master plan behind anyone where they're actually doing what I'm going to call FOMO marketing. I believe FOMO marketing exists. I believe it. But it's almost this side effect of nostalgia. Really, the idea that a company is going to market a product, sell it, to 30, 40, 50-year-olds that are still chasing that dream from when they were a child of playing these games in an arcade, which don't exist in the same way they do now. And the idea that you can have these at home at a price under $500, something that is affordable even $300 or $200 now with the partycade, right? Like that's a full on, like I've done a couple videos on that now. That's the same hardware as their 3/4 scale. And so, but it exists, man. The FOMO thing exists, but I don't think there's a meeting at Arcade One Up. They're like, okay, so what we're going to do is we're specifically going to market this in such a way where GameStop is going to get it first, and then we're going to wait, and then Walmart's going to get it. All that's just happens.
I will say this,
it is
though,
what it is.
I will say this, though. I think that, this is Zohar. I'll bring up Zohar's comment because it kind of like, he says, thanks for the super chat, bud. He says, if Arcade One Up does not get into the multi-cade market, they won't last. There, I said it. The 3 to 4 cab idea will not last in 2020 around. Remember, I said it. So I disagree with this comment for this reason. The thing is, if you told me 15 years ago, you're like, maybe, yeah, I'll call it 15, 20 years ago. You said, you'll have a arcade in your house. They'll be miniature. They won't really be commercial grade, but you'll be able to have it. It's coming in the future. And they're going to be like, I'll use the original prices that they came out. They're going to be like $300 and you'll buy this other thing. It kind of props them up. And the artwork will kind of they'll look as close as we can to the originals, but they're going to be way cheaper. I would have been like, holy crap, sign me up. So for me, even though I know that One Up has a ton of shortcomings, the controls, there's a ton of things you could like argue aren't very good. But there's something about walking into a room full of them. You're like, I have a real arcade. Like you think you have a real arcade. So I guess if there was one machine, it's like almost like there's two different things. For the person that wants the multi-cade, it's like, I don't have a lot of space and I just can afford to have one machine and that's kind of it. It's all I want. But then the person that's like, I want to build this really cool man cave game room and display like 4 or 5 games I really like. I don't think that's going to go away, actually. I think that's going to be even stronger probably through 2021 because they're going to do a whole bunch of more titles that we really want with advanced technologies we haven't seen yet. So I think the companies are just going to coexist and they're both going to be really, if we say all of them, I think they're all going to actually be really successful. That it's just, there's different products for different people. I think that's just what it really is.
Yeah, and I think
do you disagree with that?
No, I think Arcade One Up, what they're going to do is they're kind of working like a they're kind of working like a startup, right? I know they've been around for a while, but this new product is like a startup. And in a startup, what you'll do is once you get into the market and you got to have something that's working, you got to grow and you got to expand. And John's already said this on the show. They tried out things like the infamous one was like to me, I thought it was great. The whole idea that the Marvel Superheroes Special Edition was a trial run, a test to see if Sanwa is something that the community will love, And one of the ways to know whether the community loves it is, do they sell out quickly, right? Like how else are you going to measure that? That's the measure of success is, hey, we made 3,000 of them. How quickly did they sell? I mean, that's really easy to go back to the manufacturer, go to the CEO or whatever that's doing crunch the numbers. Like, look, if we upgrade to this part, it will cost us this much more, but we'll sell orders of magnitude more. Then it's going to work. That's them testing. And so what I think we're going to see in 2021 is more tests. And they're going to probably try like, okay, let's do different packages. Let's do multi-cades. Can we sell games in a different way?
Yeah,
and
I hope so.
Some people are going to love that.
Yeah. I think
and some people,
they'll have to have some way for you to add additional packs because the problem is there's still a huge like a market that they haven't even tapped into yet. Because
so many people that are in the future of Arcade One Up buyers, they don't even know it yet.
Yep. So there's that. I mean, this blew my mind, guys. I'm watching freaking HSN because Kim fell asleep next to me, and I texted a picture of the screen to Justin, and I'm assuming they do it on all their products because they start like they'll do a promotion earlier in the week and then later on the week they'll like stop. The promotion will stop. So I saw the numbers. The numbers were like 2,000 or 3,000 partycades sold. And then it was like Saturday night or something. And it said 24,000 freaking partycades. And I was like, holy crap. They sold 24,000 of these things? Like, that's an insane number.
Yeah, it's
of
like
one thing. Like, that's crazy to me.
If that number's right, then that one item has outsold probably all the competitor devices out there.
That's nuts.
Yeah.
So I think there's a lot of that out there. And then they've, John D is, I didn't want it to be full on conversation about this because I want to get to them, but John D had had like really leaned in on this idea that they're going to do full size cabinets eventually too. Now, my only beef on that is if you're going to do that, you better bring the components, because don't do a full size and then use like crappy sticks and buttons, right? Use really good stuff if you're going to do a full size. So anyway,
that's right. So I think we hit that point now. Now it's time for you in the live chat, or if you're watching in the replay, comment down below. We'd love to hear from you. What is your FOMO items of 2020? We made the restriction of in the last year. We kind of wanted to dig into the past of 2019, some items that we bought, but we constrained ourselves. So we'd love to hear you in the live chat, and we'll have a discussion. Maybe those are some items that we also purchased that we have FOMO over, or we'd like to hear about these products.
You know what we could share too, really quick? So just to back up the other thing too. So there's by the way, I'll just read this super chat. I want to mention one other thing. It says, Andre, thanks for the super chat, buddy. He said, I got Sidon because of FOMO, and yet I don't even like light gun games. See, I mean, it happens to the best of us. I just love that we're all. It's cool to be open enough to admit it, because sometimes it sucks. But the other thing I was going to mention is Justin and I talk with someone. We won't say his name because I don't think he'd want us to. But he supplies parts to 1UP. Do you remember what the number was of those parts? Remember he showed us that thing where he's like, look at all these parts that we're sending to 1UP. It was for something on one of their machines, and there was like quantity 6,000 or something. Like it was a high quantity.
No, 12,
I can't remember.
12K, I think it was.
Yeah, it was like so this was a part that they were supplying to Arcade 1UP. There was like 12,000 of them, and it was like I think it was like the light up. It was like the light up J panel or something. I can't remember, whatever that front panel is. Right. But yeah, so guys, they're moving crazy quantities still. But I think we get jaded because we're part of the audience that's been doing it with them for a while. So we're like, we're over it. We want a multicade. But then there's like this whole untapped market that's not us, that like doesn't even know what they are yet. So it's kind of crazy.
Yeah, so you're gonna have to work with me, Ralph. Like I think the chat's a little on fire, so it's really difficult to.
Can we read this one last super chat and then we'll get to the...
Go for it.
All right. Zen says, thanks, buddy, also for the super chat. Appreciate it. Same for me. I'm not a huge fan of Buck Hunter, but friends like it because they are at bars and want to be one of the first people with side and shotgun. See? Like, dude, and I'm not buying it, but that would be my reason to buy it. I'd be like, I want to try the side-in guns.
Right.
So on that cabinet.
Technology curiosity. Buy. Yeah. So you guys are going to have to help me out. So put a couple exclamation points at the beginning of your comment, and mention the items that you had FOMO over, and we can highlight it in it. That could be a way to quickly grab. It's difficult because I'm kind of going through the list and there's conversations going on, so it's hard to...
I think that Stringer's saying he has fear of missing out of COVID-19. I don't know. That's not a good thing, Stringer. No. I don't really know. You don't want that, trust me. All right, so then... Zohar says, 100% disagree. Saturation exists. Space running out exists. Customers that got more value than 50 games. MVSX. Yeah, I agree with all. I agree that there's options out there, Zohar, where like you're gonna pay the same amount, but you're getting more. That there's no doubt. There's things like that, but I still think there's a huge. We're like this little community that's pretty big community, but there's a.
Well, and it looks like we got Ralph frozen here, at least on my side. Maybe he's talking on his side, and I'm the frozen one. But now I'm talking, and
that's weird. I totally lost you.
Well, I lost you too. That was weird.
All right. Let's get to these questions.
We were probably both talking over each other. I think this is FOMO from Mike. He said every pinball item that Ralph did and will buy that isn't a V-Pin.
So what Mike's talking about is that I keep buying products that are like almost there. Like the one behind me, it's like it's vertical. It's not a normal cabinet. So yeah, I'm getting there. But I did have a full size, but I'll go back to having a full size eventually. You know that's going to happen.
So I think Vernsky75, he's saying Burger Time. I think he's talking about Burger Time was one of his FOMO items. Now, that's one that I didn't end up buying. I don't have a strong connection to it, but I did like the way it looked.
Yeah, so I would agree with that. I'd say Burger Time. So 1UP gave me that one for review, but I think I still would have bought it because of what it looks like.
Because remember, we were at CES.
I do like Burger Time though, but I don't like it enough to have a dedicated Burger Time cabinet. Really.
Do you remember at CES right next to the booth, the Arcade 1-Up booth, they actually had a real Burger Time there?
Oh,
It was just
dude,
by
the
chance.
I know, and it was so nice. The My Arcade booth had a real
Yeah.
Burger Time, and dude, I hadn't
They were
seen a real
just
Burger Time in a long time.
yeah,
It's really nice, the real Burger
right.
Time, and they had a really good condition one. But Justin and I went back and looked at the 1-Up, and I was like, damn, they did a pretty good job. Like, they
Yeah,
kind
it
of nailed
wasn't
the shape and the artwork. It looked pretty good.
yeah. The other thing I'm really interested in 2021, and this is going to give you FOMO, just watch this. I recently learned from someone we have a connection with, Ralph and I, that's kind of in the space, and he was saying licensing, there's actually like 3 or 4 things you have to license. It's not just the game, it's not just the characters, but sometimes someone has a patent or some type of license. You have to purchase a license for the control deck. And supposedly that's, I heard a rumor from someone else that said that it's one of the reasons why the MVSX has 6 buttons. One reason is they probably are going to come out with another cab that's 6 buttons so they can use the same design. And the other one is to actually get the exact Neo Geo 4-button layout. You have to pay somebody for that. So putting that together, that may be the reason why these early entry cabinets from Arcade 1-Up don't look exactly like the original. So I wonder I wonder if there's any license restrictions or difficulty when you try to make it more replica. If they're just going to have to kind of pay more, or if maybe I don't know what I'm talking about. Maybe I don't know what I'm talking about.
I don't know. So there's a bunch of other ones that popped up here. One of them I was waiting for someone to say this one. So Mike said the Pixelcade at its original price. So I guess the Pixelcade I never was a fan of the Pixelcade because it looked like light bright-ish. I just didn't like the way it looked. I think it's kind of neat what the developer or the creator of it did, but I guess Mike bought it at full price and then they offered it at some discounted price. So I feel you there. That does suck when and it's like considerable discount. It wasn't just a little bit, because that thing was pretty pricey, which was one of the reasons why I didn't get it to even evaluate it. So I was waiting for someone to say the Lego NES set, because that's really cool. But to me, I think that's cool if you're a collector and you have a collector case. It'd be a really cool thing to put in a case. You're not going to do anything with it after it's built, right? You're not going to play with it, really. So
that did pull on me. I ended up skipping on that one. But one thing that I did buy, and I didn't want to bring this up tonight because I had a lot of fun with it, but it was the Mario Kart Live. So that was something, it was like a moment that I shared with my daughter when we got it. She didn't know I bought it, and we unpacked it, and we got enough room. And that thing is really, really cool. So I don't regret buying that. And we played it about 2 or 3 weekends. And here's the reason why we don't play it anymore. My daughter still says, "Oh, we should do Mario Kart Live." It's because then we bought the Oculus 2. And we've been playing a ton out of the Oculus 2. No regrets on that personally.
It's an awesome purchase.
It's probably in recent history I've purchased, like, I have an iPad, an iPhone, and all that, and I don't buy games on that. Like, that's not a thing. Like, I don't spend a lot of money. I could, like, $5 for this game, $5 for that game. But Oculus, I think I've bought 5 or 6 games already. And I've only had it for, like, a month or 2.
Yeah.
So I see that being expensive long term, because we beat a game and we're like, okay, let's go to the next one.
Yeah. Yeah.
And a lot of the games are only like $10 and some are 20, 30. So I don't know. It's not too bad.
Yeah. No, I love that too. Zero Hero said FOMO for the original Rampage cabinet. I actually did too, because the funny thing is Rampage was like a really awesome game that I played as like a kid. Completely played the crap out of Rampage in the arcade. But I don't know, the 1-Up didn't do it for me for some reason. Like the 1-Up Rampage did not. That was one of the ones where it was always my least favorite cabinet to play, and I ended up modding it into a Turtles, as you guys probably know. Yeah,
but there's a lot of people in the community that are looking for that Rampage cabinet. I hear about it all the time. I think because it is more rare. I don't know. Yeah, they just didn't make as many of those.
Rampage is still a great game, but I would have liked it to have Rampage and then the newer Rampage on it. Like I can't remember what the second. Maybe it was just called Rampage 2. Like having some variety instead of like put more, because the other games didn't really seem to fit in the cabinet really the way that I thought they would. But
I will say mine did get a lot of gameplay last year, the Rampage, and it's because my daughter has 2 cousins that live in the same city, and they would come over like all the time. And they would go to Rampage because they all 3 could play Rampage. And I was expecting them to only play for 5 minutes. And I come back an hour later, they're still playing Rampage.
Yeah.
And
So
then
I
they'd go
think
over to Street Fighter, but only 2 people could play at a time. So,
I think I want to unpack Zohar's comment here because I think this is like his opinion, right? It's like
mhm.
I think that there's a market for a multicade product and still for one up to maybe still release systems that have 5 to 10 games on them. I think they'll try to push for more because I think
Mhm.
the community's kind of saying that, but I
Yeah.
still don't think they're going to be hurt by a lower quantity of games than everybody else. I still think I just think there's still people that are really into that. So I get what you're saying, Zohar, but you're just saying, look, I'd rather have more value for the dollar, but you're also then saying that what you think is valuable, everyone else should think is valuable. So that's the hard thing about doing YouTube and doing a review. Just because I don't like it, there's gonna be a whole bunch of people that like it, right? I mean, it's just me. And Justin could like it and I could dislike it. You know what I mean? So it's
Yeah.
just it's a preference thing. I mean, I actually said the other day to Zohar
Mhm.
offline. I was like, you'd actually probably really like the Legends Ultimate. He's like, no, I hate it. He got all mad. I'm like, I think you'd actually like it. I go, despite the fact that I talk smack about it all the time, I go, I think you'd think it's pretty cool.
Right.
But he was fixated on the 350 games not being of interest to him. And I was like, well, there's other things. ArcadeNet is not technically in that 350, and there's some pretty cool stuff on there. So
Mhm.
I think he would actually like it. But he damned me to hell in my text and just said, you're done. So
There's a there's a pot for every lid, and that's the thing.
but we love you, Zohar. It's just, but see, he says it's ugly. But see, that's your preference. There are some people that go, hey, you know what? I don't really care about the artwork. Hence, so I don't even care about one up because I'd rather have more games in a cabinet that maybe aesthetically doesn't look that good, or maybe they
Yeah.
like the way it looks. You know what I mean? It's just there's stuff for everything, right?
So this one's tough. The Marvel superheroes one up FOMO. Now I want to get the Marvel versus Capcom cab instead.
I get
I think
that.
we're going to get more and more of that. Like the Outrun is they keep on saying it's their first racer. TMNT was their first 4-player, and then they came out with the NBA Jam. And some people are like, I want a 4-player, so they got the TMNT. And then later they're like, oh, I wish I would have got my 4-player to be NBA Jam. And here's the thing. If there's any clue, the Partycade that I've been spending a lot of time on recently has 8 games in it, right? Like there's very few 3/4 scale cabinets from Arcade 1-Up that has 8 games in it. That thing's only $199. What I think, I'm just speculating here, but to me it sounds like why would you come out with Partycades for 8 games? It's like 8 games, and then continue to do that, and then release a 3/4 scale with only 4 games in it. I can only think of one reason if I worked at that company and it would make sense, as if their royalties are based on the total MSRP. And I don't know how any of that works, but if it's like you have to share the profit, then you're like, hey, this is only $199 purchase. So, and there's only how much profit in that, and we're going to share that, with the people that they got to give those royalties to. And then if it's a $500 cabinet, then it's more money.
Yeah, you could be
But
right about that.
I
We
don't know if
that
that's
detail,
true.
but
The other piece that it could be is no, they plan on adding more games to every cabinet from now on, and the Partycade is just the first time they're doing that. We're now
Yeah.
seeing their new trend of at minimum we're going to put more games.
Yeah. But you got to remember too, like everyone's so different, right? Because
Mhm.
I'll tell you guys, this is the reality I live in for as far as arcades go. Downstairs in my house, I have a bunch of arcades that only have one game on them. They're original arcades. And right next to that is a huge multicade with 10,000 games, right? It has everything. It has variations of everything. I actually play the other ones more, but I didn't realize why until like more recently. I'm like, you know
Mm.
what? I think focus is good sometimes because like if it's a retro game you really like if you're bouncing around and you're in and out of games and in and out of games, that's cool. But for me, I'd rather invest the time into something I really enjoy. And if that happens to be like one game, I just feel like it's easier for me to walk up to it, turn on. I'm talking about the full size machines. I turn it on and I go, today I'm playing Terminator 2. And I play
Right.
that for a little while and I enjoy that. And it just, I don't know. I feel like for me, I appreciate focus more than too many. So even on a multicade, I would rather have the multicade be a shrunk down list. Like to me, like 1,000's too much. I think 500's good. You go below, you go too far up 500, it's too much. You end up even with favorites, everyone's defense on multicades would be like, well, you can favorite the games you like. And I'm
Hmm.
like, no, I just think you get caught up in it. I mean, even the 60 and 1, I have a 60 and 1 where I took all the games off I don't like so that I see only the ones I want to play.
Yeah. I
And I
mean,
love
yeah.
it so much more now. So that's just me, though. Some people
Yeah.
are different. So
I might try that. So Adam made a great one. He said, my FOMO is getting the Send and Light gun without recoil. That option made it too expensive for me at the time,
yeah.
but now I wish I had it. So I have a similar one. This is outside of gaming, but maybe some people feel me on this one. So recently I decided to buy a new TV for the living room. It's like the primary TV that the family watches on. So I went into, I knew I wanted to get an LG and I wanted to save some money, but I was willing to spend a little bit of more money. So I ended up getting the Nano TV. And the Nano is, I don't really like the LG TV, Nano TV. Like almost I should have just got the LCD. And the reason why is it has, I can't remember what it's called, but it has this feature where, you know, there's only so many backlights. Like there's 32 like quadrants or something like that. And so if you watch a movie, you know, that's in 4K and HDR and, you know, you have all this information for a wide gamut of color, and then you're watching Mandalorian and all of a sudden, you know, the Razor Crest comes in, you see all these white splotches. I spent $800 on that TV. And now I'm like, okay, that sucks. And my wife is like, yeah, we got to get a different TV. And by the time we've figured out we have to get a different TV, it's now past the date where I can even return it. So now I'm looking at the LG CX, which is a really expensive TV. And so I'm like, now I got this Nano that's going to be worthless if I then upgrade to an OLED, you know?
Yeah.
And it's tough. Like, I just do not want to spend that money. But my entire experience is broken.
Yep.
And this is related to gaming, right? Like, you're watching a movie and you're pulled from the experience when all of a sudden the quality of the television isn't very good. And so you recently, you know, made you sold off a whole bunch of items recently. I think you're going to talk about that more on Coffee Talk. So teaser, I think that's going to be a great episode next week. And you had such a relief when you finally did it, because it was like this problem on your shoulder, this burden. And this is currently my burden. It's where I don't want to spend that money, but man, every single time I watch TV, which is, you know, often, we're complaining about this experience that we have. It's just, it's not compatible with our life. You know what I mean? That TV is probably great for a lot of people, but the content that I watch and all of that, it's just not working out.
We missed a couple super chats and they're no longer available for us to show on the screen. So I want to make sure we got to them. But 19K Fox, he sent a super chat. Thanks, buddy. He said, what do you think the chances are for DLC adding games to existing Wi-Fi enabled cabinets? I'd pay $50 to add Aliens versus Predator to my Marvel versus Capcom cav. I'll do we got to go fast, Justin, on this, but I would say I think they're going to have some sort of ability to do that in the future.
Yeah.
It may be limited to packs that kind of make sense with the button configurations and controls. I don't really know. It'd be guessing, but I definitely feel like you're going to see quantities of games go up. DLC, I'd just be guessing, but I'm going to guess they're going to do that at some point.
Well, they did do just recently. If you go to Arcade 1-Up, they have a Miss Pac-Man head-to-head firmware update, and this was to fix a couple bugs that are in that. And if you saw some posts from John D, they're adding. It says eight games that are on that Pac-Man are native to that cabinet, but they added 2 more, Mappy and Pack and Pal. It's almost as I think they're doing this for 2 reasons. One, they're sorry that they even had to do the firmware update, so they're trying to, you know, say they're sorry by adding more games to it. They're like, hey, we got a firmware update and it adds 2 games. And the second reason why I think they're doing it is because, like I said earlier, they're always testing. I think they're actually testing to see if the community will upgrade their firmware, be happy with the extra games, and it says are available via free update by following the instructions. And I think maybe they're working out a way to, down the line, they could do that. And I've seen people, I don't have that cabinet, that Miss Pac-Man head-to-head, but I did see confirmation by someone already that they said they did the update, and it worked. So maybe that's a clue of what may be coming.
Yep. Sorry, I had to. There's something on the home front there, really quick. So, another super chat said, "Do you think the iArcade will be a good buy?" I think the iArcade, just like any of these other products, because iArcade is more of a multicade with an app store, I think you have to look at the games list, because we can confirm, Justin and I can definitely confirm that the controls they were using were good. The audio is great. They've updated the way it looks. I think it looks much nicer now. So if you like the way it looks, I have no doubt that the controls are going to be good. The screen is good. Like I said, audio. So it's going to be a matter of, do you like the games that are on it? And then you will if you say yes, you like them, then you're good. But you're also taking a little bit of a leap of faith that they're going to add other games that you're going to enjoy, right? So the App Store is a to be determined thing, because it exists. We know what's going to be on it right now, but we don't know what's going to be on it in the future. So that'd be my personal hesitation if I was going to buy it, is do I have faith they will? I think Zhang seems to be putting a lot of his passion in this project, so I think he'll get some more good titles for it. So
yeah, that one I'm excited about. It's interesting because I backed the IA Arcade, so I spent the money, and then I got to a certain point where my finances kind of got into a position where I really needed to second guess some of the purchases I was making, and I canceled some of the orders, and that was one that I did put in a cancel for, mainly because spending money was kind of getting out of hand. But I'm actually kind of happy that I couldn't cancel the order for the IA Arcade. I wanted to, but I was past the window where I could. So now I'm actually getting excited that it's coming, and I'm hoping it'll find a spot. It doesn't have that nostalgia that we talked about before, but Jung keeps on showing off hey, he went really far with the hardware. I'm really curious if the monitor is really good, if the games that are running on it fit that ratio well. The controls that we played with before were actually really good. The sound was really good.
Clones, yeah.
Yeah, so
they were good. It was good. I mean, the other thing too is that he doesn't talk about this much anymore. But one of the things that when he says things like optimized for IA Arcade, their old website, maybe it's still on there, but I didn't notice it. They talk about how they took a lot of the legwork out of, they're kind of saying, look, yeah, there's systems out there. They don't say this, but they're kind of implying there's systems out there that you can add games. But when you add games, you have to make sure that the button mapping is correct. So one of his big things is anything that he's offering on the store, he's going to make sure that it makes sense to how you remember playing it. He talked about that a lot actually at CES, where he's like, look, he used some game, for example, I'll use my own, Final Fight. If you remember jump and punch or kick being a certain way, it would be that way when you download the game on his button. So I actually really appreciate that. I think that system's going to be good. I think there's a lot of goodness there. Justin, we got to rip through these super chats really quick.
Hurry up, man.
We're gonna
go for it.
So Bennett says, will cabinets be back in stock post holidays? Your guess is as good as mine on that one. I think COVID and everything else going. It's going to be interesting. I think they're going to be backed up for a while. So there's 2 super chats. Thank you. You didn't have to send 2, but we definitely appreciate it. I think your guess is as good as mine on that one. They're going to try to get them in stock, but we'll see what happens. Zohar said, why would OneUp release a DLC for $50 when you can just release a whole new cab for $500 instead? They're interested in revenue, not your happiness. Okay, That's Zohar's opinion on that one.
Why not both?
Yeah, exactly. So do you think the IA Arcade will be a good buy? I got that. Let me make sure we got them all, because I want to make sure we didn't miss anything. Stringer said gummy bears are waterproof, FYI. So the waterproof joke's been hanging out for a long time. It will come to a head on Tuesday's coffee talk. So just keep the waterproof thing in mind. Justin should have used a pie in his mod. Just kidding. Loved the video. And I think we got everyone. I think we got it all.
Thank you guys so much for watching our show. And if we missed your comment, just comment in the video and we'll respond to that. I will. Ralph never does. But anyway, we'll see you guys on the next one.
Take care,
Thanks
everybody.
for hanging out.
All right, bye-bye.
Bye.